What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Third and Longhorn. Man, we've been piling up the quarterbacks recently.
Yeah, we have.
And we have a man we're very excited to have on the show this week, David Ash. David, welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Is it okay that I clap for myself?
Yeah, good. That's good. You got to support yourself.
I can clap for myself all the time.
I enjoyed that. Thank you, guys.
Make sure there's no silence if you clap for yourself. Man, well, we kind of always start off the show the same way in a how did you get to Texas? I think a lot of people would love to hear your story on how you got to Texas, how you were recruited, etc.
You want me to start like when I was born? Or
You could probably skip forward a little.
Fast forward to high school.
No.
Preteen.
Yeah.
Started in high school.
Yeah, so I guess going back, like I grew up in a really small town academy, the Bumblebees, and I grew up on a little farm outside of that town, kind of middle of nowhere. And my 8th grade football season, this coach moved in from like East Texas, Louisiana, somewhere, and he'd played professional football. His name was Johnny Fuller. He played safety for like the 40, or if not for the Saints. And he showed up and he coached my 8th grade football team. And like we knew nothing about football out there at all. And he put the spread in when I was in 8th grade.
No
and
way.
we were playing like these tiny towns like Rogers and Gerald and like all these small schools, and I'm throwing the ball like in 8th grade like 25, 30 times a game.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
and I was like having a blast. And and I wasn't like a big kid or anything at that time. And at the end of the season, he was like, if you want to play college football, you probably could. And I just like didn't stop thinking about it. It just like running through my mind. Like ever since then, I started watching like Colt McCoy. We had like this little TV I'd run down to. And it was like all fuzzy, and I like put foil all over it, just like watch Colt on Saturdays.
That's awesome.
And so like all through high school, and I ended up transferring to that small town because that coach kind of was like, "Hey, you probably aren't gonna make it from here." So I ended up transferring to Belton, and knew nothing about football, and a different coaching staff had showed up there, and Coach Brewer was my high school offensive coordinator, and he's one of the best coaches I ever had. And I remember I showed up, didn't know anything. I was like 7th on the depth chart. I'd never seen a depth chart from where I came from. And I just slowly, like in the spring, I started moving up, and I got to like 4th. And then the 3rd guy went to Hawaii on vacation and missed practice. So I got up to 3rd. And then something happened where I wound up at 2nd in the spring, and I made varsity as a sophomore. And I got hurt my freshman year, and I didn't play. So I didn't play football my freshman year. And we go to the first game of the year when I'm a sophomore, and the starting quarterback gets hit by both DNs at the same time, knocked clean out. They're like carrying him off by the feet and the hands. He's like,
and you are next.
I'm like sitting there.
Is there a term for that? What do you call that when they both get them?
I mean, that's a sandwich. I don't know what you call
Crossfire.
that. High-low type
crunch.
Man, my hands were so sweaty. I was like, whoa, they were giving them smelling salts, and they threw me in there. And they're trying to get the guy woke up. The coaches didn't want to put me in. They were trying everything to get that guy back.
Yeah.
That guy's gonna be like, that's not how it happened.
Yeah. So they put me in, and I ended up playing that game, and we were getting killed. Like we weren't that good. And but I ended up throwing like a couple touchdown passes, and I ended up starting the rest of the games the rest of the year. Literally had no idea what I was doing, but I wound up throwing for like the most yards of any sophomore quarterback in Texas, I think. And
you still
He's like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
You still haven't figured out football.
Oh, I literally snapped the ball to drop back. It was like, who's open?
Yeah. No reads.
Yeah, no reads, no nothing. I didn't know. It was just like spatial awareness of like seeing pockets and throwing it in places and stuff. And at the end of the year, the coach was like, all right, we're going to work on some stuff in our cover 2. And I was like, Coach, what is cover 2? He was like, okay, we got a ways to go here. But I got invited to the mini camp at UT in the summer. And the arm was live that day.
It was feeling good.
It was feeling good. And I ripped it up. And Quandre Diggs was there, and Jackson was there, and we kind of put up on a clinic, like throwing some of these big digs and stuff like that. And it looked real nice. And everybody was leaving the camp, and Greg Davis kind of snagged me by the shirt and hauled me off a different way, put me in the Suburban, and drove me over to the Fieldhouse and brought me in and was like, hey, listen, just keep doing what you're doing, and we're going to offer you. And but keep it under your hat, and that's how it happened.
So I just gotta clarify real quick. This 8th grade coach, that was your introduction into football?
No, I played in 7th grade too. Yeah.
But did you play
Just 1 year?
I loved basketball. I was a basketball
Oh, you was
guy.
a hooper.
Yeah.
You dunked on that yo.
Yeah.
You
No.
don't put words in his
I
mouth.
would've-
Fine.
I would have finger rolled.
I appreciate the respect. man.
I'm just thinking of this like Napoleon Dynamite. The arm was live that day. So what'd you do at
Uncle
the camp?
Rico.
I'm just coming up. I'm just thinking the arm was live that day. What? Talk to me about the camp a little bit. You got to do something because Greg Davis is a Greg.
I'm still talking about it. You know, like I can't. You know.
Greg Davis is a tough man to impress. He just is. I remember being at practice and like you see a magnificent play happening. Greg would be over there. Coach Davis be looking like somebody like upset, like just did something to it serious. It's like he'd be up there just upset every day. It's very rare to see him happy. So I'm wanting to know, what did you do?
Well, I mean, I guess I just freaking threw frozen ropes. I don't know. Like, I didn't know Coach Davis that well. Like, I think, I mean, when I really saw his reaction, I remember we were throwing the big digs, like the 18 to 20s. You know what I'm talking about? And Shipley was coming in on those. And like, I mean, I think I hit like 3 or 4 in a row out of like, because the key on those routes, right, is you take your drop and you throw it with the receiver's backs turned. Right. And they loop into it, and that ball's in the air, and they got to find it. And the fact that Shipley and I figured that out, like in that camp, never throwing to each other, I think he was just like, "Whoa, you know, that's impressive." Because the team will spend 2 weeks in camp getting that route down, and we figured it out in like half an hour. You know? So he was like, "Okay, we can work with that."
Yeah.
How did the progression go? So sophomore year, then off season. Trying to figure out cover 2, you obviously impressed Coach Davis and the rest of the Texas staff to warrant that offering. But like, what was your progression junior year, senior year in your knowledge of football and how you became the player that you ultimately end up being whenever you came to Texas?
Well, it's really interesting to think about because in some ways, I think whenever I just like snapped the ball and played, I was almost kind of better. Because I didn't think so much. I got real analytical. So my junior year, the coaches started trying to like teach me all the coverages and the reads and all this kind of stuff, and it kind of got worse because I wasn't as free. Because I mean, when you play quarterback, you got a split second to get that ball out of your hand, you know, make that decision and just live with it. And in most of it, when I think in retrospect, everybody's like, it's decision making. It is, and it is like reading coverage and all that kind of stuff. But my mindset would be now it's like nobody can defend a perfect ball. Because the reality is you always get there's always going to be a pretty tight window you got to fit it in. And if you're just really confident and free with your throwing, you're going to hit more of them. If you hesitate, window's closed, it's gone. Right. So it's more about just being a lot of freeness in the way you're playing. So it got a little worse, and then my junior year got hurt again. I was always kind of getting hurt, you know. So, but I still had a pretty good year my junior year. And in my senior year, I kind of broke out of like trying to figure it all out. And we made the playoffs my junior year. We were actually pretty good in high school. My senior year, we weren't as good. Our defense was a little rough.
When you laugh at the thought of your defense,
We know what that means. You're not throwing no defense under the bus.
We got to score 60 tonight, boys.
thinking about the defense
If
made
I'm not
him laugh.
mistaken, weren't you the punter?
Yeah, I was a punter too.
He was an all-state punter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have done that. I would have got knocked out.
No, do that. No, weren't you first team all-state as a punter?
Yeah,
You was like second team all-state quarterback, first team.
yeah,
all-state
they were
punter.
just trying to
Burying
make
leads
J.W.
everywhere.
Walsh feel better because he got offered by Oklahoma State. And so they're like, oh, we'll give him all state. But since I got Texas, then I was second.
Dude, that's wild.
That is
Talk about being an
pretty
athlete.
dope, though.
First team all-state punter.
Yeah, I should have been a punter. My freshman year, I was punting.
Yeah, you did.
But I was second team.
Yeah.
You going into 2 days or whatever. You know, and they would put like little packages in for me.
Yeah.
I remember that where I would like have some run plays and some
Yep.
play action deep shots.
Yep.
And that's kind of what it was did. But I was a punter. And then whenever I ended up being the starter, they were like, no more punting.
Yeah.
And that was the worst day of my life, maybe. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. In retrospect, like
love was
I should never have agreed to that.
Yeah.
Wait, hold
Come on,
on.
coach.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
kicking
I
a
gotta
ball.
keep-
It doesn't require that much
And
bandwidth.
honestly, that's a good point, bro.
Yeah.
You could still be punting today.
No.
Punt, no, there's a great punter. There's a great other jacket. Punters punt forever, didn't he? Punt forever.
We did. Ironically,
like-
you talk about that, but we had those packages. So Colt originally used to come in and make teams feel like we were going for it on fourth down. Then you do the little pooch kick. But we were able to utilize you as an actual weapon because you actually punted, and it wasn't necessarily a pooch kick. We could rugby style, like he could do rugby style punts. It was like
What's your longest punt?
impressive, bro.
Oh, I can punt a ball. Today, I could probably still punt a ball 80 yards.
So is that
Whoa,
I said 80.
bro.
Understated.
What are we talking about here?
Rod is about to be his 80.
Yeah, he's
Rod about to be his 80.
About to come up.
Are we serious here?
I've hit a ball 85 in the air.
You know free agency going on right now.
Oh,
That
I'm
is
serious.
crazy.
I could get you.
I
I could get you on the team.
I mean,
Right,
I'm
gonna
just
get him a
saying,
look.
life could have been.
So
There's an
hold on.
alternate universe somewhere where David Ash sticks with punting.
He's
And he's still
punting.
punting to this day in like the league. Like this
David
punt-
Ash punting for the Colts
Right.
today.
Wait, hold on. So did you have training punting, or were you able just to pick up
That
the
was
ball
something
and
I could
boot
do
it
since
80
I was
yards?
a kid. I don't really understand it. But
God
since-
given.
That's
Athlete.
crazy.
When I was a kid,
Yeah.
I think I had like a PE coach in elementary school who was like, if you hit it on the side, it'll spiral. And I messed with it a couple times. And then it just like started doing it. I don't know.
That's
Like,
crazy. That's crazy.
Wow. This is
That's
mind blowing.
athletic. No, we talk about athleticism.
Wow.
That's exactly
that's
what we talk
athleticism.
about.
oh, you said it was just speed and strength because that ain't speed and strength.
I think
That's
we gotta
if
take
you
this
can
out
kick
to
a ball, that's
we gotta go to a high
athletic,
school
bro.
field somewhere and then do a David Ash punting exhibition.
Do a clinic?
Yes, I need to see it, man.
Send the tape in.
Bro, no, but he was. I saw that too. The second that she was the first team All-State punter, I was like, man, that's crazy. We never saw it on 40 acres, and
Yeah.
now we know why.
Yeah.
Man, all right.
Well, missed opportunity is what it sounds like.
It sounds like a missed opportunity for
Right,
everybody.
man.
Rod is
Rod is
upset.
Okay, I got one.
Upset.
Can I ask a question
He's
real
so
quick though?
invested.
Because you've accomplished a lot in your life. We'll get to that. This be your football life too. I got my question here. The Beyonce jersey. Yes, see, he knows.
Beyonce.
once wore his jersey in a famous viral photo.
Yep.
So I've
It's
seen
a
the
meme.
photo. That was your jersey?
That was his jersey.
Yeah,
Interesting.
We talked about worst days of my life. That's probably the best.
Where is that way through your? Because if I was you, I still have that as my.
No,
That'd be
you're
on my.
right.
How did that
That'd be my
come about?
phone.
How
That'd be
did
my.
that happen?
I've
What?
seen the picture. That's
It's
it.
amazing.
It's never
I don't know, I
registered that it
wasn't
was
there.
David Ash's
I was-
jersey.
They just took your jersey.
I just saw it and I didn't complain.
There you go.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So okay, I just want to know: do you have that frame somewhere, or is it on your phone?
Oh, no.
No. Oh man, that would be.
But you said it like you get in trouble if you had it on your phone.
That'd be my screen.
We
That'd
don't
be my live screen right
phone
there.
now.
All right,
Rod's
Dave.
crazy.
So,
No, I'm
so
sorry. Go ahead.
talk to me about quarterbacking.
Oh,
All right, when you got to UT, that quarterback room was pretty stacked. So, how competitive was it to be in that room?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's super competitive, and lots of pressure. You know, anytime you make a mistake, you know the job's on the line. So, yeah, it was a lesson real quick. I remember when I got there. You know, this is TMI, but my armpits didn't stop sweating for 6 months. I was just like, I am not on a farm right now. Like, I don't know how to talk to these people. This is awesome. This is oh, whew. Man, it was so much pressure, but it was good. And I enjoyed it. The thing is, I miss that now. Like I miss that pressure. So it was good. And yeah, a lot of good ball players came and went when I was there. And I was real fortunate to ever see the field with some of the talent that was around. So yeah.
Now you did more than just be fortunate. I mean, as a freshman, this was my last year here. It was Jeremy's like 16th year. But it was
That's so true. Like I
Official cosign.
That was good.
Dave, don't let them rope you into that. Don't let them
didn't
rope.
I see you playing when I was in middle school?
You were playing while he was messing with the floor.
We're gonna add this to the highlight reel.
But your freshman year, my last year on the 40, man, you created an impact and an identity for yourself of how you wanted to start your career at the University of Texas. Like the level of maturity that you displayed, despite everything that was going around, especially in the quarterback room, right? You had to handle certain people starting before you. I mean, you had 2 different starters, like Garrett, you had Case. Like, handling that as a true freshman in and of itself was something that you had to try to figure out how to handle. So what was it? What was the key, I guess, that kept you grounded, that kept you working, that kept you positive thinking towards whenever your opportunity came, you wanted to take advantage of it?
Yeah, well, I think most of that comes down to your aim and your focus. So, and honestly, getting to play football in college is one of these like really rare opportunities that guys like us have in life, where you get to like take your focus from like all these different things to like this.
Yeah.
And saying like, my world's this big.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what you had to do, is you had to just, you make that decision in advance and you commit to it and you stick to it. It's like, okay, like for me, what it's going to be, it's going to be my faith, football, and family. And that's like it, and you just got to decide everything else has to go away. And you got to grow up quicker than other people, right? Other people, they go and they do the parties and they do the, the vacations and all this kind of stuff. And for me, I couldn't take a spring break. Like, people go to the beach or whatever. I couldn't do it. I would like go home for a couple of days and I'd be like, I got to go back to Fieldhouse. Like, what did I do wrong in practice the week? Because, it always split spring training. I'd be home and I'd be like, I got to figure out why I keep on making the wrong read on that. It started going in my head, and I had to go back to Austin and try to figure it out. And, and you just kind of, I don't know. I think some people are just wired that way a little bit. And then a lot of it's just making that decision, kind of burning the shift. Like, this is what I want to do, and going to do it.
I mean, it worked out for you a little bit though, because I can't remember which year it was. I know you have to.
Once you've been here so long, your memory starts falling up a little bit. Just saying.
Set yourself up for that one.
Wow.
I don't know that the microphone picked that up, Fozzy.
No, Fozzy. No. Wow. But I want to say we were 4-1, and you were like on a tear. You end up getting hurt, but you were on a tear. It felt like you figured it out.
Was this sophomore year or junior year?
I'm trying to.
This might be your junior.
Was this your junior year?
I had a little streak sophomore
senior
year.
so.
I was kind of streaky sophomore year, but like strung some good stuff together sophomore year. But my junior year, I really felt.
Yeah, I felt like at one point you were literally on the Heisman watch list.
I was on the sophomore year for a few games. I was,
but I mean, like,
fell off the cliff.
You led us back in that Oklahoma State. Like, you were playing some great ball.
That's
like,
when you earned the nickname that I gave him, Straight Ass Homie.
I like that one.
Yeah, I
never heard that one before.
Back then, I was like, oh, you Straight Ass Homie.
Yeah. But
like
it felt like, at least as your teammate, if you felt like the leader of the team.
Yeah.
You felt like you are honestly grown into your voice. You were taking command of the offense, and the expectation was that you were playing with an expectation, right? And the talent was matching the leadership. All of the things were clicking. You understood the offense. And you playing at a high level. What changed? How did you get to that moment from a kid that did not know what cover 2 was?
Yeah, man. I did a lot of work. I mean, it's like a lot of work. It was not easy. I haven't thought about this in a while, so it's kind of interesting to think about. But like, that environment, when you come in, it's hard. Coaches are not nice.
Yeah.
At all, right?
They're not very nice people.
Disclaimer.
And so, like, you just gotta like endure. Basically, some of it is like, can you endure the beating? And that's what I think the coaches want to figure out, is like, how much can this kid handle? Because I remember even my high school coach, who he's one of my best friends to this day. When I was a sophomore, he was extra hard on me. And I remember even my coaches are interesting. It's interesting to talk about coaching, isn't it? Because I had an older brother who was good at basketball. He was a point guard, and the coach, when he was a junior, he was a point guard on varsity, and he would just like, he was horrible to him. Just like tore him up every game. Would scream at him during games from the fans and all this kind of stuff. But when he was a senior, he could handle himself. Like, nothing bothered him, nothing fazed him. And so part of it is you just got to go through the fire of it all, like with the coaches, everybody, getting cussed out like every day, multiple times a day.
That's a love
It's
language.
a new era these
That's
days.
just a love
Back in our day, yes.
Yeah, now somebody's got an NIL deal waiting somewhere else. And we didn't have that.
Transfer portal.
The luxury was not there.
Oh, coach, you want to compare bank accounts? Yeah, I didn't have that when we were playing. You took your licks, you
Yeah.
know, and you had to endure it. And so, man, I got to the point, you know, and I remember there was like a Bible verse that talked about like deciding things before they happen, like in Peter or something. I can't remember it for sure now, but I started going into games and I would do just tons of mental reps where I'd look at every scenario we'd be going into. And I would have like probabilities of like the most likely coverage they'd be into in like 3rd and 4. And I'd have it decided like on Thursday before Saturday, like, oh yeah, 90% sure I'm throwing this mini dig to Jackson on 3rd and 4 for the touchdown or for a first down, or I'm throwing this out route to Mike if they get, you know, this look here. You know, you just create your decision trees and you know in advance. And that's kind of what I started doing, and I started trying to just play that way. And then the things, there's things I haven't thought about this stuff in a long time. It's interesting. There's things you would notice in practice. Like for me, I would always notice, you have to think psychologically, and I would notice like, okay, on that blitz, like this is like probably this is the first time quarterbacks ever admitted this. Sometimes you get blitz, and your mind just goes blank.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
If somebody just pops up,
You're just like,
You're like, wait a minute.
You're just
What
like,
just happened?
you're like, oh dang, they blitz. What do I do? Like, and it's not because you don't know what to do. It's because you didn't handle your nerves.
Right.
You didn't handle your nerves, and your nerves. And there's a thing that happens in quarterback. When you get nervous, your vision goes like that. Like you get tight, right? And you don't see. You don't see as good. So pocket broke down a couple plays on you before, and Oak knows this, right? You get a quarterback a little rattled, that vision goes down, grip on the football gets a little tighter, that kind of stuff.
that's my job.
Right?
So Oak over there getting excited.
He's speaking my language.
Yeah.
And so I just started noticing a lot of that stuff too, where I would be in practice and I'd get blitzed and I'd be like, I'd drop back and I'd be like, after the play, you know, the coach would cuss me out and be like, I'd realize like, I didn't see a thing on that play. I just like snapped the ball. It went crazy. They blitzed. And I was just like, oh, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know, I just started working on like in my room. I'd like, okay, it's like when that happens, just like open your eyes and look down the field and calm down. And I would rep like handling my nerves in my room at night in my dorm room. Like, just like, okay, like when that happens, like how am I? And I would get that feeling of confidence. I would like rep it in my mind. I'm going to be confident in that situation. I'm going to look.
Yeah.
And like the answer is easy. You just got to throw it to one guy, you know, and make it simple for yourself and handle your nerves so you can see.
And I think you did a great job of that because the knock early, we could tell you were an athlete from day one.
Yeah.
We did not know what you knew because you never, if we're not in the room with you, I don't think people know this. If I'm not in your position room, I don't know what you know till we get on the field.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But then you get on the field and you start to see like, oh man, now that kid gonna be able to play a little bit, right? Once he figure it out. Right. Yeah. But then I think that third year for you, at least from my perspective, is that like, oh, he's starting to put this puzzle together. And not only does he have like the cannon arm, he can throw the deep post to Mike D 60 yards down the field easy. But if they are trying to go from a 2 high to a 1 high and bring up a field nickel, he recognizes that and he can get to the hot route too. And it's like when you got a guy that's athletic as you are that understands it with a big arm, it all, at least in that stretch, the only thing that can kind of take him out is an injury. Before he got hurt, it was like David looking unstoppable out here. What are you gonna do with him?
Absolutely. And I got a question for you, David. Whenever you got on campus, there's a lot of turnover at Texas. You talked about going to the camp, getting recruited by Coach Greg Davis. He's the one that gave you your verbal offer, but when you get to campus, he's no longer the offensive coordinator. And there's a situation where there's a co-offensive coordinator situation for you. You have Major Applewhite and Brian Harson, both as offensive coordinators. So could you speak on like what that relationship was like, trying to manage those two coaches in your ear at the same time and still trying to elevate as a player?
Harson, Applewhite, and then Watson, because I had 3 coordinators.
There you go.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so, you know, it's interesting to think about that is the fact that whenever there's turnover, class doesn't matter as much, right? Because when you have a guy who's older and he's had the same coach, like it's pretty hard to jump in and start as a freshman. Right. And so the fact that there was turnover actually gave me an opportunity. Now, on the other hand of that, ideally you get something consistent your whole 4 years at a place and you really rep that offense. Everybody knows it inside and out and you can play really well. So that's a disadvantage comparing like school to another school. That turnover is really pretty detrimental to the program. But all that disruption did give me an opportunity. And and the truth is, Harson and Applewhite were like completely different as far as the way they saw ball. It was really interesting. Like Harson was like a very he wanted to control everything. He wanted and this is the debate. And I know what I think about how like my philosophy would be as a coach. Like there's the coaches who want to basically look at the players kind of chess pieces, and they're playing chess out there, and you don't think, you just kind of do your job and do it, and hopefully it works. Applewhite was the complete opposite. He wanted like a smaller playbook, and he wanted to like get his athletes out there and let them make plays and play fast and athletic. And I think Applewhite had a really good understanding of what UT was like and what it was like to play with a team that had the kind of caliber athletes we did, and teach them how to play ball. We're not just going to call, hey, that's the slant route. Like, you're a ball player, you're a wide receiver, you know how to run a slant 8 different ways based on how that guy's playing you. And a quarterback knows how to look out there, see how he's playing it, and without even saying a word, you both know how that route's going to be run, where it's going to be, how it's going to play out, where that ball's going to end up. Just because you're playing a lot of ball, you only need the slant route. You don't need like, all the extra stuff. So, and Applewhite brought like a real, I think he helped the team because, there's a lot of pressure when you're at UT. There's a lot of pressure. And he'd been in that situation as a player and as a coach. And he just kind of had this like, let's go play ball attitude, about him. Like you got this.
That's how he always.
You had this feeling of like, hey, wait a second, we're just playing football here. And not a lot of the coaches were able to like get that like vibe in the locker room where it's like, hey, we're gonna roll the ball out there, we're gonna go play some ball. And that's how it felt with Applewhite. And he would make me feel confident because he would just be, he would. Sometimes coaches are afraid to like compliment a player because they're afraid that like he's gonna stop working hard or something like that. But he would actually compliment me from time to time and like it helped me grow a little bit and be like, hey, like, and other thing he would do is he put responsibility on you. He wasn't afraid. There's a lot of coaches who were really afraid. Like Applewhite would be like, go throw a pick, go make a mistake, go play. And a lot of coaches are really afraid of those mistakes, not realizing that like it's part of the process,
right.
And like Ewers, there was, whenever he was a freshman, people were like going crazy. And I was like, can you imagine me playing that well as a freshman? And then I saw him his sophomore year and everybody was like, oh, everybody has all these complaints. I'm like, dude, he's going to be really close when he's a junior, he's a senior. Because it's a progression. Like all of this stuff, rarely does someone show up and they're just like,
from day
finished
one.
product.
Right.
Finished product from day one.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Was Major like that as a teammate?
Yes, he was. Fozzy. Yes, he was.
I know that was Fozzy QB.
Yes, he was.
Was that how it was?
Anyway,
I can tell you, yes,
Dave,
it was.
there when you got to campus? Obviously, not having a huge football background, were there a few guys that took you under their wing and kind of showed you the ropes, or was it just more the coaches?
Well, Luke Pellman was big, but Fozzy was big too.
I'm sure.
Fozzy's
taking a lot of players out of
I know
under
this is
his
supposed
wing.
to be touchy-feely, but Fozzy did the worst thing anybody's ever done to me.
Oh,
Go on.
I've never told.
I've
never told anyone this story.
Oh my God!
Because it's
This is the purpose of
What
this
is
platform.
happening?
it's the most embarrassing thing that's ever
Let's go.
happened in my entire
Let's hear
life.
about
Let's go, please.
So, and Fozzy remembers this.
Do you know what he's gonna say, Foz?
He knows.
So,
exactly what
face
he's gonna
says yes.
say.
So, like, I'm from a farm. I can't dance. I've never heard I can't even remember who the song was. but
Right, I don't even remember.
It was
what I had
Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
One of his, anyways. So I can't dance. I can't do any of this stuff. And there's, at the end of 2 days, like, there's this big dinner and there's like a talent show with the freshmen.
Oh no!
And all my buddies are going to get up there and sing just like a country song that we can all do. Right. And Fozzy's like, nah, bro. I got you, bro. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just like the devil whispering in my ear. He said, I'm going to teach you how to do this dance. All right. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this dance. And so he's
What
like,
dance was it?
it was a Michael
Can you
Jackson.
demonstrate?
The Michael Jackson slide.
Yeah, it was like the Michael Jackson slide. Like,
Oh no.
I can't do
Got
that.
you.
I'm glad this story coming out. Wow, evil man.
Sounds like hazing to me.
So,
No, we didn't haze.
So I'm in 2 days and I'm like punting and playing quarterback and I'm like on top of the depth chart half the time. So I'm like under pressure. I can't even remember about the talent show. Like I forgot that it was even going to happen. And we'd signed up for me to do this dance. And then we go to the dinner and I'm sitting there like tired and suddenly like talent show. And I'm like, oh shoot. What was I even doing? I couldn't even remember what the song was. And then they're like, they call me up there to do this dance on this song. And I get up there and I'm just staying there and I turn red. And like it was so bad. Like it was so bad that people couldn't even like know what to do. Like when you talk about crickets and like dead silence, everybody's like, oh, and you know, I was still from like the farm kid. I never speak. I'm just like the big dude quarterback who like throws too hard, you know, whatever, you know. And like I'm like never talking, then I get up there and like have no clue what to do in the talent show. It's just crickets. Like it was the worst moment.
And that's what Fozzy Whittaker, super senior Fozzy Whittaker did that to you.
Like I've never forgiven you for that. I've never forgiven you for that.
I need more
I was trying
details.
to build callous on him just to make sure.
Is there footage anywhere of this?
To be fair, Fozzy thought he was setting me up for glory, I think.
Yeah, I saw.
I don't think
Saw
so.
greatness in him.
I don't think
I saw
so.
it in him,
Saw
and I was
greatness
like,
in him. He's
bro,
like, let's go, bro.
you got a chance to take over with this opportunity.
Be a touchdown dance right here.
Like,
Go
bro,
up there and show
Fuzzy's
it
like,
what.
just go do it, bro.
he's gonna
This
become
your
the
chance
leader.
to take hold of the offense because there's question marks. Let's be real. Whenever we were coming into our senior year, we didn't know who really was going to be the starting quarterback. And it was like there was open competition. He talked about being on depth chart up, high, low. Like it was over every day. It was a shuffle for us to figure out who the hell was going
And
to
this dance competition was going to separate.
And I was
That
like, bro,
Fozzy had a plan.
this is your moment, bro.
Y'all remember
What a
It's
guy,
like
man.
Eminem.
I was waiting for him to connect. I was like, what this got to do with you setting him up with the Michael Jackson?
It's his moment,
He brought it
bro.
back to the quarterback competition.
Y'all remember?
That's what I was
Y'all
saying.
remember though, like that 2 days whenever like I was punting quarterback, and then with like 3 practices, I jumped from 4th to 1st.
Yeah.
Like that, and because I lit it up like that first week. I remember I went.
Live. That one was live.
Yeah, the arm was live.
Uncle Rico, he came back.
Yeah,
Uncle Rico arm was live.
we finished like the first 2 days of that first week, and I went like 19 for 21 in one of the drills, and I was in first on the depth chart, and like I did pretty good for a couple of days, and then like collapsed, like because that's kind of how it was. Is and this is something that's interesting. Like you watch freshman quarterbacks, there's a huge difference between a high school football game and a college football game. And I don't know, it's a high school football game lasts like 3 hours. College football game lasts like 4.5 hours.
Wow.
And especially with the TV timeouts and the breaks and the getting out of rhythm and all this kind of stuff. And there's a lot more strategy going into the game. You're thinking a lot more. As a freshman, I remember like somewhere in like the middle of the third quarter, I would just be like, not physically tired, but like mentally just
like,
wiped
what is
out
going
and just
on?
being like, whew, you know. And so it's hard on freshman quarterbacks because they get to that fourth quarter. It's not like just are they handling the pressure while they're at player, but it's like you're like mentally zapped. So you get to that pressure situation while you're like thinking slow. Like that's the problem with the freshmen.
I was just helping accelerate that.
Yeah.
What a guy.
And so I
Well,
think
don't kill you makes you stronger.
This
man.
so. I think it's safe to say.
What makes you live longer?
I think it's safe to say that was probably your worst moment at Texas. One of them. Let's go on the other end of the spectrum. What is probably some of your favorite moments on the field at Texas?
Oh man. Well, shoot, on the spot. I mean, some of the games, you know, beating Oklahoma State away whenever they were ranked higher than us, and coming back on that 4th and 6 to DJ Grant. Y'all remember that?
Yeah, boy.
Yes, sir. That's
I remember talking to Case about that, and him just going like, "I can't believe you threw the DJ."
The thing is, DJ could ball.
He could ball. He has
He had that knee.
Injuries,
He
bro. He
had
was
that
cold.
knee. He had a knee
Nice.
injury.
And that's the time old, you know,
Yeah.
story old as time. The guy, there's some great players who got hurt, and we were around them. And DJ was one of those guys. He was a great tight end. And but I mean, we lined up, and they showed that 2-man look. They had Mike covered, they had Keith covered, double covered, and they had Jackson double covered, and they left DJ 1-on-1 on a linebacker,
And he won
So-
his one.
Had to take it,
Won
you
his
know?
one.
and he took it for like 40 yards. So, that was a great moment. Probably the Alamo Bowl against Oregon State when we came back, and Oak had all those sacks.
Man, right. Still
Yeah.
getting sacks.
I'm telling you, he
Was it
sealed the
4.5?
deal for us.
Yeah.
4.5.
There you go.
And Quandre had like 2 picks. I remember
crazy.
Quandre had Dix and
That was a great game.
Keys balled out, and that was Applewhite's first time calling the plays, and did a great job. And that was a great time for me because I had kind of played some really good games early in the year, and then I really struggled in a few games towards the end of that year against Kansas and TCU. I broke my ribs against TCU.
Yeah.
And I was actually playing in that Alamo bowl game with broken ribs, and that game was so interesting because there was 2 things that I finally clicked for me. I think one, I was when you come in, you're real cautious, and I'm a real people pleaser. I want the coaches to be happy. I want the players to be happy. I wasn't that. The good quarterbacks who are natural at it, the receivers come to them and they're like, "Hey, I'm open on this play," and they're like, "Shut up, leave me alone." They're like, "Dude, like I'll throw you the ball when I please," like kind of thing. And I was a guy who was like, "Oh, were you open? I'm sorry." Like I'll try to get it to you, Mike. And Mike Davis was just always open.
Mike Davis was so funny, man. 'Cause when David Ash was hitting Mike Davis with the ball, Mike would literally be there and be like, "Hey, David Ash, he know what he doing. He know what he doing." And if Mike go a series without touching the rock, he come back talking about some. Man, I don't know about him. I don't know about him. I don't know about him.
We gotta get Mike on the show, bro.
We gotta get Mike.
Gotta
Yeah.
bring him on.
When we come to loudest and most funny, it's probably Mike Davis, but I had a caveat for that, which is that not on purpose. Like
It's not intentional.
It's not
It's not always
intentional.
intentional.
But he's like the funniest human being that's ever walked the planet. I got a story to tell about him in piano class, man.
Let's go.
Yeah,
You can't leave it on the
Let's go.
Quick piano class.
Let's go.
So we took this piano class, I forgot for what credit it was, but we a bunch of football players in there. And all you had to do for the class is learn a song and play it at the end of the class. One song. And it's like Mary. It's like Mary.
I was in
did
this
too.
I took this
played
class,
Thriller.
Yeah, it's
Michael Jackson.
I played Boys
okay,
Man.
you went over the top. Like most of us were playing Mary Had a Little Lamb across buns or something. But I don't know. So we were all working on these songs, and it's like you got to play the song for your final test, and that's your score, and everybody gets an A. So I can tell we're in the last class, and Mike does not want to go. So he's sitting in the back. He's like leaning over his desk, like not making eye contact with the teacher, and we're all playing our songs. When you play your song, everybody claps. You leave, and the teacher just says, "That's an A." It's so easy. And so there's like 5 minutes left, and he's the last one. And the teacher's like, "Mike Davis," and he gets up and he walks to the front of the class. The piano's over there, and the door's over there. And he takes one step like he's going to the piano, like he's running a route. And he goes, "Squirt," and he goes that way. He walks to the edge of the door, and he goes, "I'm Mike Davis, and I'm always open." And he just leaves.
Are you serious?
He just leaves.
I'm always open.
Oh, that kid.
That's amazing.
That's
gotta
one
get
of
him
my
on the
top
podcast.
moments at UT.
What did the teacher say?
Why does that feel? That
The
feels like a
teacher
movie.
literally just goes,
And he got an A.
I think he wound up getting an A. The teacher let him come back and play it with nobody in the room. That's what
there you
ended up
go.
happening.
Wow.
He just had to show out before.
That is fantastic.
I got one for you, Ash. Again, I'm thinking about being your teammate, playing with you, and where it just looked like everything was going right, and then unfortunately injuries, like it happens to a lot of us, it made you step away, right? Walk me through that tough decision to realize this is probably what's best for me, the human, even though this could end the football player.
Yeah, that was, that was hard because you're also trying to make a decision while your head hurts. Got to use the mind that's not working so good to make a decision with the mind. Catch 22. So I Yeah, that was a struggle, and it actually wasn't. The thing is, it actually wasn't as serious of a head injury as they thought, and that was a difficult time to have a head injury in football.
Yeah.
That like the movie Concussion came out that year. Like it was a super political thing, and it flipped from coaches, before being like, how many fingers am I holding up to? Like, close enough, get out there, kind of thing, to like they didn't want the liability of playing a player and getting that heat on the program and all that kind of stuff. So it turned into this thing where it was highly political. It was in, the spotlight. Everybody's talking about it. So like my concussion was like a Big 12 case study. Like they'd never seen that type before. And it's actually not serious. It's just, it was rare. So all it was it affected my inner ear. I really have no, like neurological damage at all.
Okay.
It affected my inner ear, your inner ear is like a balance center.
I was about to say, that's for balance, right?
So I had a lot of dizziness issues, and it can also somehow interplays with your vision a lot, and so I would have like some visual issues and some
Did that
dizziness.
ever make you feel
and
like
stuff,
you were going like?
make you nauseous,
Yeah,
which is also all evidence of like a major concussion. So all
Right.
those symptoms were like mixing together, and it turns out that like there was some complications with my sleep as well, and all those things kind of played together. But if you get your sleep figured out, because basically what was happening to me, if you want to know, is I would be getting into games after I had that initial concussion, because I did have a concussion. The testing, like if I did cognitive testing after the concussion, within like 8 to 10 days, I was nailing all the tests. I was just fine.
Good.
Like up here, couldn't pass a balance test. That was my problem. And so that has to do with inner ear stuff. And the inner ear stuff was actually connected to migraines. So, and what had happened, it had given me this massive sensitivity. It threw off my sleep and made me really sensitive to light. If you know anything about migraines, those two things together with like, caffeine, diet, whatever, and pressure basically can trigger episodes. So what was happening is I would finally pass a balance test, feel good, and I would go to a game, and then you have a game and like you don't sleep super well that night because you're nervous, and then you get into the game, and usually halftime the lights would flip on, and suddenly I'd start getting visuals, and then so I like my vision would get all funky and stuff like that, and then it's called vestibular migraine. It gives you vertigo. So I would get a vertigo spell, and then I couldn't pass a balance test again.
Yeah.
But so I would go through that little cycle, and and the doctors and coaches would be going back to the game going like, why didn't he take a hit? And they'd be like, man, he didn't even take a hit. His head's so fragile that like he's getting head injuries without anything ever happening. And come to find out, it was really from like lights and noises more than stimulation. And so finally found a doctor when I was like 24, 25, who figured all this out. He's a great doctor up in Dallas, and got the migraine thing sorted out, and I've really been fine ever since. And that's when I started trying to go back and play.
About to say that segues into maybe your worst moment at UT, I guess, with me, but then getting a chance to catch a reunion in Carolina while I was playing with the Panthers. You came out, went through a whole mini camp. And talk about kind of that experience of, declaring the retirement, whether it was in your hands or not, but then making that comeback to be able to showcase who David Ash is past everything that happened at the end of your college career.
Yeah, so I guess I was like 24, 25. I can't remember how old I was. It's all kind of blurry, but when I,
You can. That's a poor joke.
That time.
Or a really good one.
That-
my memory has always been poor. So before that time, obviously whenever I found out like, hey, this is the issues, it gave more information about what's going on. So I was like, I'm okay with playing. Like, I don't really feel like there's a risk here for me. So I wanted to try to play again. And so I started training, and I was not in shape at all. And so I started going to like exhibition camps, man. I was living out of my freaking little car and just like eating tuna and peanut butter and driving to exhibition camps and giving like quarterback lessons on the side because I just want to try to play. I love football.
Yeah.
And so I ended up in like this exhibition camp in West Virginia. And you remember Blair Peterson?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, his dad is a scout, and he saw me there. And I had one of those days where I was,
Rico's back.
Yeah. No, he saw us throwing this combo drill where the defense was practicing double coverage in guys, and they were running like combo routes against it, where like you have like double coverage and they run like that crazy 7 route, and you gotta throw it early and you gotta drop it into the bucket over there.
Yeah.
And I hit like 6 in a row in double coverage. It was awesome. And his dad saw that, and he invited me to Carolina. And so, I showed up. But before I showed up in Carolina, I went out to work with Tom House, who's the guy who's created this new school of throwing, right? Everything's evolved off the science he found. Because when I was playing, like in college even, it was all over the top, man. Like you were throwing – I remember I was in high school, they'd be like, over the top, man. I would like freaking hit myself in the head and bounce balls off my helmet trying to throw over the top. And now everybody's slinging it.
Right.
And the games when I would play the best is whenever I would accidentally start slinging it. And when the arm was live, it was whenever I'd accidentally like forget to be here and I'd pull that ball out there and it would really go. And so they started teaching all this stuff, and my mechanics started. So I went out there to learn all that stuff. And they did that little drill on me, where they were testing your rotational strength and with a heavy bat, and then they give you a light bat, and they'd test your rotational speed. And I was telling Fozzy, they would have like everybody's in miles per hour, and so you'd see like Tom Brady's miles per hour and Andy Dalton's miles per hour and like Drew Brees and all this kind of stuff, and you'd be like, oh, I'm gonna stack up in here somewhere. And so I ripped it, and like something, I don't know, my neck pinched and my whole arm went numb right before camp. And so didn't have the best camp, didn't throw the ball super well. And I thought I was done again. And, to this day, my thumb is still a little bit numb. But it was like 2.5 years later, I was throwing the ball with Jackson. He was running like a wide receiver camp or something. And I started throwing it, and I was like, oh.
Arm.
I think the arm is. I told some little
rookie of the year.
I told some little kid, I was like, "Hey, you start running, bro." He took off running. He's like, "This far." I was like, "No, keep going." And I ripped one, and I was like, "It's bad."
That's awesome.
I love the relationship you have with your arm.
You named it? Does it have a name? Like, what's a nickname for your arm or something?
No, man.
Rico.
Right now, Rico, 100%.
Rico.
That's what it is. Yeah, Rico, I like it.
We're not close. He's pretty ornery.
We're not close.
He doesn't always come through in the clutch. So then I was like, I was like, man, I gotta play. I wanted to play so bad. I love football, man. It was hard for me to give it up. All being said, but eventually, what happened? I don't think very many people know this story. It was COVID. How did this go? I gave up football. I was like, I'm out. And then that happened. I threw that ball to that little kid on the field.
It's like I'm back.
And I was like, I've been seeing some of these backup quarterbacks in the NFL, and like, I'm pretty sure I can play, So I started calling around. I talked to our agent, and he was like, yeah, I'll put in a word. Everybody came back, and it was like, unless you could play one single season without getting hurt, and you can show film of you taking hits and all this kind of stuff, we're not interested. So I was like, oh, okay. So I was working in finance, and I was like, I'm quitting this. I don't really like it. So I got out of it, and I had a buddy who was coaching in France. And I was like, hey, I'm getting out of finance. Arm's feeling pretty good. Like, what do you think? He's like, yeah, come play football for me. And so I was like, all right, here we go. Well, COVID hits right after that. And so I'm like, I'm getting ready to go to France. And like about a month later, he calls me. He's like, hey, like, I know I told you France, but I just got kicked out of France, and everything's shutting down, and all the football in Europe shutting down. So what do you think about Poland? I was like, that's a downgrade.
We'll cut that part out for the all our Polish audience.
Poland is the same latitude as Canada, you know? They're the same. But I quit my job. I had nothing to do for the next 6 months, and he's like, it's the only league in Europe right now. And I was like, you know what? This would be a crazy story if this worked out. Anyways, I went to Poland. I ended up getting COVID. And
stories.
And I got deathly ill with COVID. I went there like weighing 230 and strong, throwing the ball 70 yards. And after I got COVID, I was like 215. Couldn't throw a ball through a wet paper sack. I couldn't do a push up. I ended up getting what's called like long COVID or whatever. Right. It lasted like 15 months. I couldn't breathe. Like it was horrible. And so I always felt like, I could play. And I was like 27 or 8 at that point. And I always felt like, I could play. But after that, when my body was just like done, it was like just hurting and all this kind of stuff. I was like, for the first time ever, I felt like I couldn't play. And that's when I started going to the games at UT again, because I couldn't even go to the games. I couldn't watch football because I was like, I could not watch football while I felt like I could play. And as soon as like my body started hurting and I got like old and decrepit, I was like, I like watching football again. I don't even want to play this sport anymore. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Man, we all love the game, but they don't always love us back.
Gotta love the game.
They don't always love you.
Like I tell people right now, listen, I'm at that age. If you tackle me, I'm suing you. I promise you. If you tackle me, you will get a letter in the mail.
Well,
age,
David, I know you got to get out of here too, but we're gonna wrap it up, man. We appreciate you coming by. This was awesome, man. I want to do a part 2, man. This is hilarious.
I got tears.
We gotta get to the Poland days, man.
I don't know what I was expecting from the story, but it's like, then I got COVID. That was
it just keeps taking turns.
You ever seen like a 6'7" dude who weighs 300 pounds and never played football and like being like, I will protect you, and he's like smoking a cigarette though.
Bro,
Poland was wild.
Like the replacement. It sounds like a screenplay for an Apple TV series, bro. I'm ready to write it. You should write it,
real quick before we let you go, David. I remember you throwing at a pro day. What year was that? Do you remember?
I did that like 3 or 4 years for him. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Was that kind of like a full circle moment for you where you could kind of scratch that itch a little bit? And
I love throwing pro days.
Yeah,
because people always forget how tall I am.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they forget that I can throw a ball. And so I throw it's like what is that called? It's called being Uncle Rico, basically. Yeah. But so I love doing that. It's super fun. I love throwing pro day.
I got you. Well, it was fun to watch, man.
I act like I don't like it, so I don't seem like that
guy. You're doing it in his 30s and 40s, bro.
Well, you're a completely different person. I love it.
Well, you're the man, David. We appreciate you coming by, man. And hook 'em.
Hook 'em.